Hello, 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 and welcome to yet another episode of the Conversation Capital. Today we're joined by an amazing guest, Gugulethu Msezane. Hi, Gugu.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited to chat to you. But before that, Bonga, what's up?
I'm good.
Voice of reason, as always, Bonga Bueta. Gugulethu Msezane sent us an email. So this is a story behind Gugulethu Msezane. She sent us an email saying, I've got a story I want to share, and I want to share it on your platform, and I want to share it with your listeners. And I feel that it's something that all girls need to know, that if there is somebody else out there who's experienced something similar story, they should know that they're not alone. And the whole team was just moved. We were like, we need to get her on, like really. So anyway, who's Gugu?
Well, that question is very tricky. I even don't know how to answer it when I'm going through interviews. But I'm from Hammanskraal. Studied in Durban and continued in Durban to study, and then I came to Joburg. Studied something completely different to what I'm going to talk about today. But I'm a horticulturalist by profession. And personally,
What was that?
horticulturalist by profession.
What is the horticulturalist?
I studied plants. Yes,
Okay,
so
okay.
I studied plants.
Okay.
Yeah, how to make people's gardens beautiful and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, so then I came back to Joburg, did some work for one of the blue chip companies. Personally, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm an aunt, I'm a godmummy to a lot of people. And yeah, that's just who I am.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. So thank you so much, like I said, once again, being willing to share the story. And so as Gugu was, writing out, and we struggled to articulate what it is exactly that we wanted to share with and about Gugu. And so we've just entitled it like Experiencing Infertility at a Young Age. I actually don't know what the title will be, but that's just the umbrella. And if you could walk us through, because I know you experienced a tragedy
Yes.
to get to that place. And if you could walk us through what happened, what happened?
So the morning of the 7th, I'll never forget this date, 2019, I felt slight pains, obviously in my abdomen, because that's where the problems start. I thought it was a familiar pain that I felt before, because I've had a history of bladder infections, living at res and being in tech and all those things. So I'd get like bladder infections here and there, and I'd go to the doctor. I think when I was in Durban, I had like 3 hospital stays because of that. But I thought, I know it's probably sharing toilets and whatnot. So the pain felt like a pain that I felt before. So it wasn't something new. So I'm like, no, it's going to go away. I did my uric acid. I drank my cranberry juice, the normal regime. On Tuesday, it was still painful. So I thought, okay, let me go see a general practitioner. Get to the doctor. I think the mistake that I made actually was to say, I think I have a bladder infection. So then that's what he treated. I don't think he really went into what was wrong, So, then I did my treatment for bladder infection. This whole time, anyone who's treated bladder infection would know, when you take, there's certain pills that you take at a certain time, and then it clears out in probably 4 hours. You start feeling better and all that. This one did not clear. It was like it was getting worse. Wednesday came. I was part of SALI, which is an organization in the green industry, and I had my marketing presentation. And it was one of those things where you can't miss it, because I was the youngest in the team. I don't want to let the team down. I was like, okay, let me just soldier it out, and then I'll come back. Bearing in mind, this whole presentation thing was in a safari. So after the presentation, that safari car, when it moves, the whole time I'm in pain. Now I can't say, no, I'm not going to go on it, because I'm trying to act like I'm fine. On my way back, driving back from Dinukeng, because it was in Dinukeng, I was like, I'm in pain. I remember calling my bitch, and I'm like, Kanye, hi, this thing is not getting better. Then she's like, dude, you better go to the doctor. But I'm like, I went to the doctor, but it's not clearing. Okay, so Thursday came. So now I'm dragging this thing. I think had I just gone into the emergency room immediately, it was going to be a different story maybe, I don't know. Then Thursday came, I just slept in, I didn't go to work. Friday, I woke up with the most painful abdominal pain I've ever felt. And you feel like your back is cracking. I woke up, I don't know why I took a shower, but I did. I guess it's that thing, you don't want to go to the hospital. Took a shower, and I drove myself to Waterfall, Netcare. I lived in Centurion at that time, so the N1 felt like it was the longest road ever. Drove in, I don't know how I parked, I don't know where I parked. I could just feel pain. Walked into the emergency room, I'm like, guys, I don't know what's happening, but something is happening. The whole procedure of filling out the forms, I don't understand why we have to do it sometimes. But yeah, filled the forms. As soon as I was that other side, I think they gave me some morphine or something like that. But now the whole time, after this morphine thing happens, now you're in a daze, because now I'm like a bit drugged, and I can hear there's doctors around me now. People keep coming in and out. And I'm like, okay. And I'm still in casualty at that time. So I'm like, Aibo, can't they just get something in and then I go home? Because I've done this before. I've been admitted before for this thing. So I talked to one of the nurses in my morphine highness. This nurse is like, okay, so this is what's happening. Something is twisting your ovaries. I'm like, something's twisting my ovaries? What's something? Like, no, that's what we're trying to find out. I'm like, okay, but I think she just wanted me to just know that it's hectic, but maybe they're gonna fix it. Okay, time goes on. I think like 3 people came in and out checking on what's happening. After that, I fell asleep. And then when I woke up, this doctor comes and I'm thinking, okay, now I feel better. Because I think the morphine, helped with the pain. I'm like, okay, can I go home now? Like, no. The doctor's like, no, we have a lot of problems. So now I'm joking around, because I always joke around with people and whatnot. The doctor's like, okay, jokes aside, I'm admitting you. Admitting me? King, just to see, monitor, or what's happening. It's like, no, it's a gynae issue, and I can't divulge right now, but yeah. Okay, fine, I get admitted. My friend came, so she followed me. I called her when I was on my way to the hospital. So I think she said she waited for like 4 hours to understand what's happening with me. She didn't know where I was, whether I was still in casualty or where I was, so she waited. Then when they said they're admitting me, they called her in. I'm like, hey, dude, bang, admit. So I can't go back to my place. Please, get my stuff and whatnot. But I'm sure I'm going to be out in a few. Fine, she does that. I get admitted. And then the next day, my surgery was booked for the next day. That's how hectic this thing was. So the gynecologist comes to me in the morning, I think around 6 a.m., something like that. That's when I was introduced to my gynae. Then she's like, no, I'm taking you in. It's just fibroids. So don't worry, And then I Google, what are fibroids? Because I've heard about them, but really, not really, I'm like, oh, okay. Wow, maybe that's why I have maybe a big time. It's these fibroids. I'm like, okay, explain some stuff, Hi, fine, I go in. And apparently the surgery was supposed to take, because they don't even open you up. They get it with tubes and whatnot. It was supposed to take like 2 hours or 3 hours, but it was like minor, not like major. It was booked for 10. I don't know what time they obviously knocked me out, but I came back to the room about 7 p.m.
From 10 in the morning?
From 10 in the morning. So, when I come back, I'm like, like after I had come out of a daze. And my roomies in the gynae ward that I was in, they're like, no, you've been gone the whole day. I'm like, manje, why? Yeah, but I'm like, maybe the doctor will tell me. The next day she comes in, she's like, it was a Sunday, I remember very well. We need to talk. When they close the curtains in the hospital, it's very private. So I'm like sitting there, I'm like, yes, doc. And then she's like, okay, so when I went in, I was going to remove the fibroids, which there was 4 of them, actually. But when we went in, we found that your one tube was blocked, but the other one was literally damaged. It was gone. My tubes. I've never been pregnant. Like, I've never had an ectopic pregnancy. Like, how? She's like, I really don't know, because it was one of those things where I had to act. Because, when you sign those consent forms, you fully allow her to do what she needs to do to save you. And then she's like, one tube had pus in it. I tried to drain that pus so that I can save at least one tube, but I couldn't. that pus had eaten up the tube, and I had to cut both because the infection was going to spread, and one day you're going to not wake up and you wouldn't know why. Because once pus gets into your inner organs, then you're gonna, it's gonna damage you. So I'm like, okay.
What does this mean?
I'm listening to her the whole time. I'm like, okay, can I get pregnant? I remember asking her, can I still get pregnant, dude?
How old are you at this point?
I'm 28. I'm 28, and at that point I thought, okay, no, the previous year, I was very broody, and I was in a good relationship, I thought, yeah, this is it. So I remember because the guy was clear with his intentions from the beginning, and he was like, okay, let's go off birth control and see what can happen. I'm like, okay, I'm in agreement. I don't mind. But for a year, nothing happened. So I was just like, I'm relaxed. I'm just waiting for it to happen. Like, I'm not like wanting to get pregnant now, but I'm just allowing my body to go through whatever it is that it wants to go through. I mean, I've been using birth control since I was 21. Yeah. Okay. So then this doctor tells me, I'm like, can I still get pregnant? She's like, yes, but sorry, through other methods. I'm like, methods? She's like, yeah, for now, let's let you rest and whatnot. You know how doctors are. And I'm like, okay, so we're done. She's like, no, I still have to operate again. Because you had signed for one operation. So I have to go back, and I couldn't traumatize your body further. So the fibroids are still there. I'm like, so what does that mean? So now I'm in hospital for almost like 3 weeks because she's waiting for the swelling to go down from removal of the tube so that she can go back in again and take out the fibroids. So then I had the first surgery, they removed my tubes. Then the second one, they removed the fibroids. And my life changed. I think when I was still in the hospital, I was okay. I think I was very motivated. And this thing came at a time when I was very aligned spiritually. Like, I was at my highest. I don't think, even now, I'm not back at that alignment with my God. I'm not. Because I was like, no, we're going to be okay. My hospital stay felt like I'm taking a holiday from work. Like, literally. I didn't think about all this pain because it's pain meds, they put me to bed, all those things. It wasn't really, I don't know if reality hadn't kicked in or what was happening.
You were so hopeful at the time.
Very hopeful. Like, I was like, there's a reason why you've put me here and I'm going to get out. And I think I started seeing that reason even while sitting in that ward. I remember after my last surgery, I was sitting on the bed and I couldn't move. On the catheter and everything, there's a lady that came into the ward and she was crying, And so I saw her in the afternoon. Then later on at night, she came back. I think she went out and then they brought her back. And we started chatting. And then I find out that this lady this is her third miscarriage. But she does have a child, see. And I was like, I'm not like acknowledging how you're feeling or acknowledging your situation, but let me tell you why I'm here right now and what's going to happen when I get out of here. I will not be able to conceive naturally. It means that if I want a child, I have to have about 100,000 rand, which means that the dating pool just went very small for me. My dating pool just went, because now if I'm dating, I cannot help but think, will me and this guy be able to make the 100,000?
How old are you? You don't have to say how old you are.
No, I don't mind. I'm 31 this year.
31.
Yes.
So this is 3 years that this has happened. How has dating been since then? Can you introduce the topic first?
Yes. Do you ever feel like...
How are you? By the way, this is my situation, or...
Do you disclose? Do you feel the necessity to disclose?
So at that time I was involved with someone. So
while this is happening.
Oh yeah, I wasn't. But the tricky part with the person I was involved with at that time is that we dated since like I was younger, and then we broke up, and then we got back together. So I've always known that he doesn't want to have any more kids. So when this happened, I'm like, wow, why does this favor him so much?
Sure.
like it hits differently. Like there were times when I was like, wow, God, why are you favoring him so much, this guy? So because we had set like a cut off for ourselves to say, when I'm 30, I will go back and rethink if I still want to have children or not, you know, because at that time I was like, career. Like when I'm 30, you have to have this conversation. So now I'm 28, and does this cut this conversation? What happens, you know? And you can see how it was really, it put a strain into our relationship. I think ultimately that's one of the reasons why we had to break up. Because then he, you know, men love themselves, ne?
Men always care about themselves.
Men,
You're not to be
they,
today.
yo, no, so I just needed
of men for themselves.
No, men love themselves. Yeah. So not only does it favor him, but now I'm like, no, it doesn't actually, because manje get decide manje. Because after the hospital stay and whatnot, my gynae gave me a year and said we should come back and see how you're healing and whatnot. So he was involved in that process. And I remember waking up one morning and I'm like, you know, whether or not I have this kid with you or these children with you, I'm gonna have them. And I was very honest. And he's like, but you with me? And I'm like, I don't know, Mara, maybe it's a spam bank or it's someone who's willing. I'm dating you, I love you, but I am gonna have the child. But that was at that time because I was feeling very, oh my God, am I enough? I need to see if I can really make this child, you know?
And now, it's escalated. Now you want the kid now.
Yes, now I want the kid now because now I'm like, hey, let's see, you know?
Yeah.
But a year later, my gynae checks like, no, guys, we've healed. And he was there in the gynae visits. We've healed. So have you guys decided if you want to or not, you know? And he was like, yeah, we want to. Because he decided on that morning when I told him, nah, with or without you. Whether uteng or how uteng, so, well, he said yes because of that. Not that he was saying yes, you know. So, but after, I think we broke up last year. I think part of it is the fact that he could see what kind of strain it put into our relationship, because now I went from a very secure woman to this, when it came to the topic of having children and womanhood, I closed off, you know. And in my...
Can I ask,
yeah.
Is that something that you were doing to yourself, or is that something people around you do to you? Because sometimes we have insecurities.
Sure, this is a very interesting one.
Yeah, they're valid because people do that to us, you know. They place things that we didn't really think about, like, oh, this is attached to my womanhood. Yeah. And somebody reminds you of that. But sometimes it's things that we do to ourselves. So what was your experience?
I think a bit of both. A bit of both because I tend to be very hard on myself. So when this happened, I'm like, oh my God, Gugu. So you're going to feel it this one. Oof, you know? And it doesn't help that in our societies and our families, oh my God, our families need to stop. Yo. Because once you like... Yo, you guys need to stop. Like, our families need to stop. Yo, because once they see the career and what knows, ipindoda. Baba bantwana. Oh, when are you having kids? Stop with those questions, guys. Yabona, especially when are you having children? If you are one person that used to ask people, even if it's as innocent as, just don't. Don't ask that question. Don't. It's like asking someone when you're going to lose weight. Don't. It's none of your business. So, in the family, they will make you feel it.
And, I'm not making excuses. We know that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Gabriel Union has taught us, amongst many other people. I think with Gabriel Union, it finally landed. Stop asking about fertility and children. Stop. You have no idea what someone is going through. However, I sometimes see the innocence that Bomalume sometimes will ask it in. Or,
no, true.
There's an innocence to it. It's just like, they don't know what to say. They're filling in blank spaces.
Yes, they're making conversation.
Yeah. Ask about the weather. Do what you need to do.
Like something else, not my fertility, So yeah, so to answer your question right now, dating is weird.
Sure.
Because now I've gone back to the streets a bit.
Welcome. Welcome.
And the streets are cold.
There's nothing on the streets, girl.
Gadi.
So I don't know, actually, guys. I don't know how. I don't know, because I'm not in. Currently, there isn't someone that has gotten to a stage where maybe we should talk about that part, or worthy of me opening up to that level. Yeah, there hasn't been someone and think, okay, maybe should we start the conversation, should we not? But I did think about that, because it means now, as I said, my dating pool has just shrank.
Have you considered, I don't know if there's a possibility to freeze your eggs in the meantime?
I have considered freezing my eggs, but I don't know how I feel about freezing them without having an idea if I'm gonna have children or not. So 3 years later, you will laugh, guys. So 3 years later, I'm talking about this, I'm opening up to other women, and I'm realizing, actually, I'm not sure if I do want these children now. Like, I don't know.
You're back to the question.
Yeah, I'm back to the question that, okay, fine, I can't have them naturally and whatnot, but do I want children? I don't know. And it's because of a lot of reasons. I mean, we see the trauma in our families. People get pregnant, they get left by this guy and whatnot. And I don't want that for myself. No. I want a present father. Yeah. I want someone who wants those kids as much as I do. And I don't want him showing me that he wants the kid by just contributing the 150,000 rand to make this child. I need him to be committed, to want the child, to love the child. You know, I actually want the man to want the child more than I do. He's shellering me and convincing me to get pregnant.
Let's do this.
And I'm assured that he's going to be there with me through the step of the way, because IVF is like, it's not easy. It's not easy emotionally. It's not easy, like, with your hormones and your body and, you know, everything. I remember when I asked my gynae about the reality of IVF, and the little that she could share was that outside of this guy who you're gonna make this child with, you need to have another support system. Because there's a time when this guy will not understand what you're going through. And because of the hormonal things and whatnot, he wouldn't even know how to handle you. Because you don't know how to handle yourself at that time. Sure. You know, I mean, we go through this every month where you're ovulating, you're like, okay, ben kalela, and why was I crying that day?
Yo,
like,
and hormones will make you spiral. Out of order.
You know? So imagine I'm spiraling out of order for 2 months. Because for you to get to freezing your eggs, you have to be...
And sometimes it takes years.
Exactly.
It's spiraling.
Yeah, so it needs to be someone that's very, serious about having...
And then have you considered, for you, is it a substandard way to have children to adopt?
I think I'm already contributing in an adoption thing in a way. You know how black families are. You're always raising someone else's child. But the nice thing is that the child, it is kind of yours because you're related to the person. Adoption, I don't know how to feel. It feels a bit foreign to me right now. Like, I don't know if in 2 years' time
Would you have changed your mind?
Would I have changed my mind, you know? But this right now,
we're so ever evolving.
Yep.
It's so difficult to make
these
hard and steadfast things about ourselves when there are many things that I don't believe in now that I once believed in.
Oh, so many. So many.
With us speaking about evolving, firstly, one of two questions I have for you is that, did you feel aggrieved? Did you wish they had paused and be like, okay, maybe let's wake her up and see what could we have done? Like, ask her first something. Did you feel aggrieved at some stage to be like, couldn't you have woken me up to say, here's this issue? I know it's past. I know you probably could have died, but did you feel like, I wish I had a voice at that moment?
Ooh, that autonomy over that decision.
In the beginning, yes. But after, my doctor was really open with me. She's like, you know what, Gugu, I even have the 4D scans. She showed me what it looked like. And I'm grateful that she decided to do what she did at that time. Sure. To save my life, you know.
Sure. And I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
It's fine.
But what this reminds me of is the conversation around accessibility of healthcare for Black women, right? There's a lot of people who feel like when they go to the doctor, there's a lot of research on this. Okay, white women, any pain, enyani, is like, okay, we can take it as something serious. But if you're a Black woman, it's unlikely that something will be taken serious. You have to go to a lot of doctors. So I think that speaks to the fact the accessibility of healthcare and that particular gynae, the fact that she brought you in so much that it led you to a point of accepting fully, you know. So that's a great experience.
It is a great experience because I'm also thinking about it. A friend of mine also has a few issues around that. And for all these years, she's actually got endo. She's been complaining about this severe period pains and whatever. And like these white male gynaes and, you know, actually, but the stats show that our pain is trivialized by them, right?
Yes.
And they like put her on a diet. You're like, no, just lose a bit of weight. That's why you've got cramps. No, exercise more. You know, she says one day particularly this guy showed her food chart. Try grade 1, you guys.
And that's exactly how...
Protein, dairy. What is my food chart?
So you're Black and you're a bit on the side of the scale. It's worse.
It's worse.
They judge you from the time you come in.
Everything is in relation to your food or whatever.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And you find yourself then wanting to be treated by somebody that looks like you because you feel like they see you.
True. I was very grateful that, because they assign a gynae to you, right? It's not like you go and choose. I was very happy that they chose female gynae, Black.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like from a cultural perspective, she gets it. So every time when she's addressing me or telling me something, she says, no, you know, like she assures me that it's gonna happen. It's not something that is impossible, you know. You touched on something very, very important for me now. The being on the heavy side and then people automatically think, Uguti, you're unhealthy and whatnot. I'm going through that because not only did I lose my tubes and find out that I have fibroids, I came out of there, my body changed. My abdomen does not look like how it used to look like when I went into the hospital. Do you understand? I came out of there looking like I was 7 months pregnant. I went in there with a bit of a tummy, but it's nothing hectic. I can still wear a crop top. Came out of there looking like I was 7 months pregnant. And abdominal muscles take time to even build. They take time to heal then. So for the whole year, I'm walking around with this lump and everyone thinks I must just lose weight. And only to find that staying in that hospital, I actually did lose weight. Like people that knew me. I remember my best friend saying, yo, bro, your thighs have shrunk, you know.
It's this tummy area.
Yeah. And she was saying it in a way that because she knows I like going to the gym and whatnot. And I value my legs more than anything on my body. So I'm like, yo, and I want thunder. They must be. They must be this big. But now I'm like, does that mean I lost weight? Because I couldn't see it. I'm seeing this bulge in front of me, you know. Even now, there's people that will be like, no, you know, at the gym, no, maybe you should change your diet and whatnot. I'm looking at them like, guys, get your hormones.
You have no idea what
I've been through. You have no idea what I go through, you know, in my head.
Yo, we need to stop being invasive, Clay.
Yep.
We're very invasive.
We just need to stop being invasive.
No, we're very,
We need to stop
invasive.
commenting on weight. We need to stop commenting on babies, on fertility. We have absolutely no idea what people are going through.
No idea at all. There's a lady I work out with, and this other time we just bathing and whatnot, and she's like, yo, I'm so happy that at least I'm losing a bit of weight because these depression meds. Yo, I was taken aback. You know when you're like, this person has just told me that she's suffering with depression, but it's in such a, you know, light manner. I'm like, from here, I'm not gonna ask any questions because then kuzoba ngathi by invasive, you know. And ever since she said that, I was like, actually, I'm proud of her. And when you look at her life, you would think, oh, kumnandi, because she's married, has children, and, you know, drives nice cars. And you're like, that looks good. But you don't know what anyone is going through at any given moment. I'm grateful that I still have episodes, guys. Don't get me wrong.
That's what I want to get to. My last question, we don't have much time.
Sure.
But my last question is that, what are the mechanisms? I mean, you know, like you're definitely still within, it's only been 3 years.
Only been 3 years.
We cannot take away from the fact that you are still within this journey. And I know that you're still very much within it. And so, like, just a young person listening who's dealing with possibly facing infertility at a very young age and the reality of that, how are you dealing? What are your mechanisms? What are you doing?
I was lucky that when this happened, once again, I had started therapy in 2018, dealing with something else. But when this happened, then that conversation started with my therapist. And I have a toxic trait of not knowing how to ask for help. So because I pay for the sessions, I feel like, no, here I'm going to ask, like, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? You know, with her, I can just be open and say my true feelings as well. So I'm in therapy even now, and that's one coping mechanism. Secondly, I went back to working out because that helps me. It gives me a mental balance, you know. I do have those slight dips, you know, the in and outs, but another coping mechanism that I use was that I talk about it as if it's something that anyone else can go through. I don't make it, ooh, you know, like it's a disease. No, there's nothing wrong with me. This happened to me.
A human encounter, you had a human experience.
Exactly. It's like going through an accident. I had an accident in 2019. And I think I'm coming to terms with the fact that there's a reason why I'm going through it. Maybe God is using me to save someone else. Or maybe he's using me to tell other people that you're still enough. You're still enough because...
You are.
Yeah.
You are.
Yes. And I want people to believe it because I do. I think I'm enough just the way I am. Just the way I am. I still have a womb intact. My cervix is still... can hold 3 babies or whatnot. Whether or not I want to, that's still a struggle that I have to go through and decide if I want to have these kids or not. But I talk about it. And I am happy that God made me like this because when I speak, I feel like something gets released.
This is true.
As
much as it takes so much vulnerability to talk,
Yeah.
and you sometimes get a vulnerability hangover.
Yeah.
You like go home, you're like, hey, why did I tell that person all of that stuff?
All the time. I go through that all the
You could go home
time.
right now driving like, hey, was I really on a podcast? You know, vulnerability hangovers was so real, but we cannot take away from the more vulnerable you are, the deeper your connections are. And like, this is Brene Brown, I am quoting, it's not me.
And I read her books, so
Yes.
quote, girl. Quote.
But you know, it's so true because like you experience deeper connections and that release that you're explaining, you know, that like just being vulnerable and allowing yourself to share that story puts you in a place where you can be like, well,
this is me and this is it. And I remember I was speaking at a women's conference, not last year, before COVID things. And after I spoke, a lot of women came to me and they were like, Kanjani, bruh. How do you stand there and tell us this and not break down and not... I'm like, I don't know. The thing is, you guys ask me this question and sometimes angazi. But I feel like I should share it because it might be helping someone else. Because you might be going through it. I don't know. I think it's even worse if you already found a partner and you're married and you find out when you have someone. You know, I think right now, it is the right time for me to go through this alone. So that I can evolve alone and I can be okay and I can get through it. It's never going to go away totally. But at least whoever it is that I meets me at a place where I kind of know who I am.
Yes.
sure.
You know, I kind of know who I am and I know what I want.
Yo.
And I'm not afraid to say it. And if you are coming in, this is what you're going to deal with.
Yes.
And from the start, it's you know, it's an open book. So that's how I'm coping right now.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's a
I
pleasure.
think that's all one can say after that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing to say. You've just shared your experience with us and an experience that other people need to hear. You know, so many people are going through it. All of us as women, we're constantly just going through the motions. Am I okay? Am I healthy? You know, your period comes a month later. You're like, hey, what's going on? You know, you start spiraling. You start, and it's a constant anxiety. You know, until you have the kids or you don't have the kids, and you just never know until you know. And so when you share stories like this, it's like the worst nightmare because constantly from being when you're a kid, you're given a doll.
Yes.
You're being taught to be a mom.
Yes.
You're being taught to be this mother figure. And then when this reality happens, we're like, oh, I might not be able to have children. And then what?
And not by choice.
Yes.
Not by choice.
And
Not
then
by
what?
choice.
What does that look like? What is my new, re-imaging? What is Ursula? Who is Ursula? What does she look like now? So thank you so much, Gugu.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for sharing that vulnerability
Sure.
with us. Thank you. Thank you so much to everybody that's tuning in at home. We love you so much as a Conversation Capital. Please make sure you drop all the love, first of all. Please show her love. And then like, share, subscribe. Your sugar daddies, you know how it works. Tell all of them. Tell everybody. It is the Conversation Capital. Goodbye. God bless.